Now, a couple has been reunited with their baby son after he was swapped with another child shortly after being born. Mercedes Casanello accused her doctor of giving her child to traffickers after she gave birth in her home country of El Salvador. Her husband, Richard Cushworth, was out of the country at the time. The couple launched an appeal to find their child after a DNA test showed there was no chance the baby they took home could be theirs. That was 3 months ago, but today the family was reunited. Well, for more on this story, I'm joined in the studio by Arise News correspondent Faith Orr. Faith, this really is an extraordinary story, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, as you said there, she gave birth in her home country of El Salvador. Now, we actually have some photos that she took shortly after, as any mother would do, shortly after giving birth. You can see the child there, quite light-skinned, rosy-cheeked, obviously a proud mother. Now, shortly after giving birth, Mercy was given an anaesthetic. She'd had a caesarean. The doctor said it was to calm her down. That put her to sleep. When she woke up in the morning, the child she was handed was much darker skinned. She kind of noticed the child and she thought, noticed a few differences. Darker skin, it had a mole, weighed more, had smaller feet. Just a few noticeable differences with the child. And most importantly, actually had an abundance of black hair. But they put their doubts aside. They took their baby home to Dallas in Texas. But once there, the resemblance just grew further apart from the parents. Now, we do actually have a photo that the parents took with the child that they took home to Dallas, and you can see there much darker skinned. Now, the resemblance only grew further apart as the child grew older. Relatives, friends, they all started commenting that it doesn't really look like you. So they went for the DNA tests and launched their ultimately successful appeal to find their son.
So what actually had happened to their son then?
Well, it gets quite interesting here. So they say the doctor that delivered the baby was involved with child traffickers. He obviously denies any wrongdoing, but there's a few kind of quirky bits to this. So she says that while she was pregnant, the doctor was really over-attentive, stayed with her during the night on an occasion. She had been due to give birth on June the 20th. Her husband wanted to be there for the birth, but he had an important trip to make. He went away in May, thinking he'd be back plenty of time. A day after he left, the doctor told her that she had to have an emergency caesarean. So that really sparked, something in here. This isn't quite right. He'd also told her repeatedly during her pregnancy that the child was going to be dark-skinned, and she thought, well, that's strange. Why are you telling me this?
That is strange.
Yeah. Obviously, as we know, the DNA tests came back. Another mother that had given birth on the same day in the same hospital, that family had their child. They didn't know. They had no suspicions. They thought the child they had was their child. They've now been swapped back. But it's quite interesting. So the official line, it was an accidental mix-up, but the doctor is being prosecuted. Both couples have been forced to sign a gagging order. Yeah. So it looks like there's going to be more coming out of this.
Now, this family, of course, has been reunited, and we have images of that. Just tell us about this reunion. They were on Talking earlier about it.
Oh, I mean, absolutely delighted, obviously, but somewhat understandably as well. She said, the son that they had, the boy that they had, I should say, not the son, they've been raising as their own child for 3 months. So understandably upset to also be giving that child up, mixed in with, the delight. I mean, she'd been breastfeeding him. Even after she found out that he wasn't her son, she continued doing that. And they actually said, before the parents were found, they said that if the parents of this boy couldn't be found, they would be happy to raise him as their own.
So what's happening with the family now who actually had to give up their son because it turned out not to be theirs?
Well, as we said, there's a gagging order, so they haven't been able to speak out. But yeah, they were completely, this came out of the blue for them, completely unexpected, or at least they say it was unexpected.
Yeah, all right. Thanks very much, our correspondent Faith Orr. Appreciate it.